A family invited a kind, soft-spoken preacher into their home to celebrate a birthday. By sunrise, 3 innocent lives were gone, all for just $10,000. But what haunted investigators wasn't only the crime. It was the chilling secret the killer left behind. It was a quiet Thursday evening in late October in the small town of Ashwood, Pennsylvania. Orange leaves drifted through the streets as a cold breeze whispered through the maple trees. Families were enjoying peaceful evenings, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. At the end of Maple Creek Road lived Michael Carter, his wife Sarah, and their 8-year-old son, Ethan. They weren't wealthy, but they had built a happy life together. That Thursday was special. It was Ethan's birthday. Sarah decorated the house with blue and white balloons, while a chocolate cake waited on the dining table. A few close relatives and family friends gathered to celebrate, filling the home with laughter and warmth. Around 6:30 p.m., a black SUV pulled into the driveway. Michael smiled. Oh, he made it. The visitor was Daniel Cross, a traveling preacher known for his kindness and gentle words. Everyone trusted him, but few knew his entire identity was built on lies. Years earlier, he had been arrested for fraud before disappearing and creating a new life under a different name. Daniel blended into the celebration perfectly. He joked with Michael, praised Sarah's cooking, and gave Ethan a wooden compass engraved with the words, "Always follow the light." Ethan loved it instantly. Before cutting the birthday cake, Daniel offered to lead a short prayer. As everyone bowed their heads, he quietly observed the house. He noticed a security camera, saw where Michael kept his wallet, and watched Sarah briefly open a hidden safe while searching for birthday candles. Inside the safe, Daniel spotted a white envelope containing $10,000. He had found exactly what he came for. Later that evening, while no one was looking, Daniel slipped crushed sleeping pills into a pitcher of homemade lemonade. Smiling calmly, he poured drinks for everyone. Within an hour, Michael, Sarah, and little Ethan became unusually sleepy. One by one, they drifted into a deep sleep as the birthday music faded into silence. By 11 o'clock, the house was completely quiet. Only the old grandfather clock echoed through the hallway. Tick, tick, tick. Daniel locked the front door, opened the safe using the combination he had memorized, and placed the envelope containing $10,000 into his bag. He should have left, but then one terrifying thought crossed his mind. What if one of them wakes up? He turned toward the sleeping family and stood there in complete silence. Outside, the wind rattled the windows as darkness filled the house, and before the first light of Friday morning reached Ashwood, everything inside the Carter home would change forever. The first rays of Friday's sunlight slipped through the Carter home's curtains, but the house remained strangely silent. Too silent. Normally, Ethan would already be awake while Sarah prepared breakfast and Michael got ready for work. That morning, nothing moved. Around 8:15 a.m., Sarah's sister, Emily Brooks, arrived with a birthday gift. She knocked several times, but no one answered. Calling Sarah only made the phone ring inside the house. Growing worried, Emily noticed the front door was slightly open. She stepped inside. The birthday decorations were still hanging. Half-eaten cake sat on the table, and wrapping paper covered the floor. Everything looked normal, until she realized the house was completely silent. Moments later, her scream echoed through the neighborhood. Within minutes, police, paramedics, and crime scene investigators surrounded the Carter home. Detective James Walker, a veteran homicide investigator, quickly noticed something unusual. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken locks, no struggle. Whoever entered the house had been welcomed inside. In the kitchen, investigators found 3 glasses containing leftover lemonade. "Forensics," Walker ordered. "Test every drop." The lab soon confirmed that the drinks contained a powerful sleeping drug. This wasn't an accident. It was carefully planned. Walker interviewed everyone who attended Ethan's birthday party. Every witness described the evening the same way. Then one name stood out. Daniel Cross, the friendly traveling preacher. When Walker searched for Daniel's background, almost nothing existed. No permanent address, no close family, very few church records. It was as if Daniel had appeared from nowhere. Meanwhile, Daniel was driving nearly 200 miles away with the stolen $10,000 hidden inside his bag. Hearing the breaking news on the radio, he immediately switched it off. "No mistakes," he whispered. "It's over." But deep down, he knew it wasn't. That night, Daniel checked into a roadside motel using a fake name. Unable to sleep, he suddenly woke at 3:17 a.m. Someone had whispered his name. The room was empty. Then he heard a soft sound. Tick, tick, tick. On the dresser sat the same wooden compass he had given Ethan. As he stared in disbelief, the compass needle slowly pointed directly at him. He blinked. It was gone. Daniel couldn't tell if it was real or if guilt was destroying his mind. Back in Ashwood, investigators confirmed that Michael had withdrawn $10,000 just 2 days before the birthday party. The money was missing. The motive was finally clear, but Detective Walker still had one question. If the money was all he wanted, why didn't he simply leave? Looking at the Carter family photograph, Walker quietly said, "This wasn't just greed." The killer was afraid of being recognized. For the first time, Walker knew he wasn't chasing a mystery. He was hunting a man hiding behind a mask of faith. Detective James Walker couldn't stop thinking about one question. Why would a trusted preacher disappear immediately after attending a child's birthday party? Something about Daniel Cross never felt right. Walker contacted police departments across several neighboring states, asking them to search their records. At first, nothing appeared. Then, 3 days later, a retired detective from Ohio recognized Daniel's photograph. Daniel Cross wasn't his real name. Years earlier, he had been investigated for fraud, identity theft, and manipulating innocent families before disappearing under new identities. Although he had escaped prison several times, he left behind a trail of broken trust and ruined lives. Walker immediately realized that Daniel had spent years hiding behind religion, kindness, and carefully chosen words. A nationwide alert was issued, and every police department received Daniel's photograph. Meanwhile, Daniel continued driving from town to town, staying in cheap roadside motels and paying only in cash. He avoided crowded places and constantly looked over his shoulder. But there was one thing he couldn't escape: his own guilt. Every night he dreamed of Ethan's birthday party. The balloons, the birthday cake, the wooden compass, and the sound of children laughing. Then he would suddenly wake up in complete silence. As the days passed, Daniel became exhausted. He barely slept, barely ate, and slowly began losing control of his mind. One rainy evening, while stopping at a gas station in West Virginia, a security camera captured a clear image of his face. Within hours, Detective Walker received the footage. Police quickly tracked Daniel to a remote cabin hidden in the mountains. Before sunrise, officers quietly surrounded the property. Walker stepped forward and shouted, "Daniel Cross, this is the police. Come out with your hands where we can see them." For several long seconds, nothing happened. Then the cabin door slowly opened. Daniel walked outside. He looked nothing like the calm preacher everyone had trusted. His face was pale, his clothes were dirty, and his eyes showed weeks of fear and exhaustion. Without resisting, he raised his hands. Walker looked at him and said, "You've been running for weeks." Daniel gave a weak smile. "No, I've been running from myself." Back at the station, investigators presented overwhelming evidence: phone records, security footage, financial documents, and forensic reports. Daniel finally broke. "I saw the $10,000, he whispered. "I told myself I would only steal the money and leave, but fear took control. I believed that if anyone recognized me, my fake identity would be destroyed." Months later, after a lengthy trial, Daniel was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Outside the courthouse, a reporter asked Detective Walker what lesson people should remember from the case. Walker answered, "The most dangerous people aren't always the loudest. Sometimes they're the ones who earn your trust first. That's why kindness should always be matched with caution." Years later, the Carter family's story was still remembered throughout Ashwood, not only as a heartbreaking tragedy, but as a reminder that greed can destroy innocent lives. But no lie stays hidden forever, and sooner or later, the truth always finds its way into the light.